Hi, this is Ayanna with Black Atheists of America. Welcome to our 13th session of The Bible Actually Says. In this series, we discuss the Bible. We move through the Bible as it should be read, cover to cover. Today, I have with me Ray, who is also a member of Black Atheists of America. While we will not be reading every verse, we may choose to quote the Bible. If so, just know that we will be using the King James Version. We will start by recapping last week's show, then pick up where we ended off, and go through as many verses as time permits. I hope you enjoy the discussion. Please feel free to comment and subscribe. So last week we discussed some of chapter 13 where it appears that Abraham pimped out his wife with the help of God. And then chapter 14, we got through most of that, which was mainly bloodshed. And it also showed us that Abraham is quite the man.
You know, as a matter of fact, one of the YouTube bloggers summed up the whole thing. Now, it may have took us 20 minutes to read it, but this guy, or girl, I don't know, summed up the whole thing in a couple of lines. Brundog 65. The Pharaoh and his lady wanted to get their freak on with Abram's lady. Abram pimped out Sarah. Real pimps keep all the money, no dough for the hoe. He summed up the whole chapter, the whole 2 chapters, and 1 line. And now we're at
verse 16.
Verse
well,
16.
We're going back a couple of verses from last week. So we're going to discuss we're in chapter 14, verse 16.
Verse 16. And he brought back all the goods, and he also brought again his brother Lot, and his goods, and the women also, and the people. Now, the funny thing about this line is that, well, number one, they make sure you know that the women aren't part of the people. And number 2, I thought Lot was his nephew.
He was until now. He's become his brother.
So Lot gets captured as his nephew. After he gets rescued, he turns into his brother. Do I got that right? Is that how it works?
Appears so. He's his brother now.
Right, because we know there's no errors in the Bible, because the Bible is inerrant. So that must be what happened.
Maybe this is Lot 2.
Or maybe it's a different Lot.
They were running out of names. And 17. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chedorlaomer and of the kings that were with him at the valley of Shaveh, which is in the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High God.
Most High God? Okay, so now we know that gods have a hierarchy. You got the Most High God, which means that there must be at least a high God, because you can't have the Most High God unless you already have a high God. And if there's a high God, there must be a low God. So we got at least 3 gods up there. So 19, and he blessed him and said, Blessed be Abram, the Most High God, possessor of heaven and earth.
So he took over Adam's job. Remember, that was Adam's thing.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting here? The Most High God owns heaven and earth. So what did the other gods own? Doesn't tell us.
But it's just earth.
Oh, maybe they own some of the other planets.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And blessed be the Most High God, which hath delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all.
Abraham's racking in the dough yet again.
I know, this guy's already rich. And the king of Sodom said unto Abram, Give me the persons, and take the goods for thyself.
So, again,
He says,
Abraham.
yeah, give me the people. I'll take the people. You can keep the dough.
Let's think about this. He goes to the Pharaoh, tricks the Pharaoh, gets the Pharaoh to give him all these people. He uses these stolen people to win a war, to get Lot back. Seems kind of selfish, but whatever. Who, has changed positions from nephew to brother. And now he's getting rewarded again for winning this war.
Yeah, and giving the guy back his people, but he gets to keep his money.
Yeah.
And Abram said to the king of Sodom, I have lift up mine hand unto the Lord, the most high God, the possessor of heaven and earth, that I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abram rich. Okay, so I gather by this, Abram is saying, I don't want your money, you see, because first of all, I'm already rich, and I don't want you going around bragging that you made me rich. Because if people think you're responsible for me being so wealthy,
then
they're
my
not going
junkie is not going to get credit.
Yeah, God's going to get ticked. That's how he's making his money. He don't want to diss God because that's like his main customer. That's his only customer. That's it.
Save only that which the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men which went with me, Anar, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion.
And that's the end of chapter 14. Now, chapter 15.
After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield, and thy exceeding great reward.
Man, he won't even let this guy sleep. Life of a drug dealer is tough. I mean, your customers come in the middle of the night. And Abram said, Lord God, what will thou give to me, seeing I go childless, and the steward of my house is this Eliezer of Damascus? And Adam said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir.
So, I know he's just asking for a child, but...
Well, you know what? I think what's happening here is they probably got some kind of rule that says one born in your house is your heir. And this child of Eliezer is not even his child and stands to inherit everything. And not only that, Abram is using this opportunity to get more out of God than he's already received. He thinks this is a cool time to go for the bargaining chip.
Yeah, well, he did just tell the last king, was it? That I don't want any of your stuff. I got the Lord on my side.
I got a cool sugar daddy here.
Yeah.
And I don't really need your money.
And God came down and was like, yeah, that's...
And 3, and Abram said, Behold, to me thou hast given no seed, and lo, one born in my house is mine heir. So that is the Lord. So he's trying to proposition God. Look, if you like what I've been cooking, you better get up off the seed thing.
And behold, the word of the Lord came unto him, saying, This shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come forth out of thy own bowels shall be thine heir.
So clearly the Lord gave in. The Lord said, whatever the cost, I'll pay it. Not a problem.
And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees to give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it? And he said unto him, Take me an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took unto him all these things, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against the other. But the birds divided he not.
Oh, so the Lord wants to try a different formula. He says, he wants a different thing. He says, look, okay, I tell you what, I'll make you a deal. You count those stars, I'm going to give you all those seeds, but this is what I want, okay? I want you to get a 3-year-old heifer and a 3-year-old pigeon or something. And we're going to change this formula. And when the fowls came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. Oh, okay. So he's got all these dead birds, these dead animals, and I guess, what are those, vultures that come down? So he just shooed them away because he's preparing this new dish.
And when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, a horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Oh, I'm wondering, why is there a horror that fell upon him? This is like, I'm wondering if this is, maybe God wasn't as receptive as we originally thought. You know how if you try to like corner the mob into doing something, they're like, whoa, let's remember who's got the power here. So I wonder if that's what's happening.
Yeah, he's kind of like putting the fear of God.
Yeah, into him. He's like, he lets him fall into a deep sleep. And then he has horror and great darkness fall upon him before he decides to say, you know, what it is that he's going to say. And then the deal that he gives him is a crappy deal.
Yeah, it sounds pretty crappy. So let me see if I got this straight here. Abram said, look, there's a girl that has a baby already in my house that's going to be the heir if you don't give me some more kids. And he's not saying I'm threatening to cut off the drug thing here, but he's kind of saying that because the Lord says, whoa, let's not get testy here. I tell you what I'm going to do. See all them stars up there? That's how many kids you're going to have. But the slick part of this is that I'm going to put them in like another land, and they are going to be like slaves for the next 400 years.
And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. So now he's going to be judging these people, and knowing God, he's probably not going to give them any forewarning as to how they're going to act. Hopefully they act in a way that he wants them to act. Otherwise, we could see another possible flood. Or
not another flood.
Well, it's not going to be a worldwide flood, but it might be another flood.
Yeah, but look, I got a problem with this. Well, Abram should have a problem with this because God has now limited people to living to only 120 years. But his seed is going to be enslaved for the next 400 years, which means that his immediate children are going to be slaves their whole lives.
That, and he's never going to experience the joy, if you will, of knowing his kids. I mean, I don't know how far away this land is, but I'm assuming it's pretty far.
And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. Oh, gee, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, without ever knowing your kids, which he specifically asks for.
So he gets to get buried. Oh, gee. Thanks, God. But in the 4th generation, they shall come hither again. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
So they get to return long after. They get to return in 4th generation. So he's still not bearing the fruit of what he said he wanted.
I don't think Abrams is paying attention. And it came to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, a smoking furnace, a burning lamp that passed between those pieces. Okay, so I guess the Lord's coming down now to check out what he's getting ready to put together.
Yeah, to check out his new formula that he put together, his 3-year-old obsession of animals.
And the same day, the Lord made a covenant with Abram, saying, Unto thy seed I have given this land, from the river of Egypt unto the great river, the river of Euphrates. And then the Bible goes on to list 10 groups that are already on this land, including the Canaanites, of which
I think that there'd be enough land for God to give away.
I mean, you got a whole planet, right?
Yeah.
You got a whole planet, but
he got rid of most people, and he only had that family of Noah to repopulate. We haven't been that far along.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he got rid of everybody on the whole earth. So how come everybody's jammed into this little thing, and how come he gives them this land? I mean, how come he doesn't give them like Australia or something?
No clue. So now we're moving on to Genesis 16. We're on chapter 1. Now Sarah, Abram's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said unto Abram, Behold now, the Lord hath restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened to the voice of Sarah. This is ridiculous. So God decided that Sarah can't have any kids, and now Abram has to go knock up the maid.
Yeah, but didn't God just tell him that I was going to give you a whole bunch of kids?
Yeah, that he would never see.
But you notice he didn't tell Sarah that. He didn't say like, "Hey, look, Sarah, don't worry about it. I just got through talking to God, and he said he's going to give me a whole bunch of new kids."
No.
He kept that information to himself.
Clearly.
Yeah. Okay.
And Sarah, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife.
She made him wait 10 years?
And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes.
Ooh.
So there's drama. We have a soap opera unraveling here.
So now she's ticked. Now the girl has a baby, and now Sarah's like really ticked off.
Yeah, well, sometimes you look into a situation, and Abram's probably crying like he wants a kid. Sarah's like, I can't because you're stupid junkie. You won't let me have any kids. And she's like, oh, well, here's how I solve it. And then she probably said, this probably wasn't such a good idea.
She doesn't think it's a good idea because line 5 says, And Sarah said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom, and when she saw that she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between me and thee.
So the Lord, she's acknowledging that the Lord has kind of set up this unnecessary situation, which is hilarious.
Because, Sarah is not liking God very much.
And she should. Sarah is the voice of reason.
Well, look what happened to the girl. As soon as Abrams gets hooked up with God, she gets pimped out to this other guy. She doesn't get any money for it. Then she can't have any children. Then her husband has a kid with her maid. Yeah. I'd be ticked off too.
Right.
Of course she's ticked.
But Abram said unto Sarah, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarah dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face.
Oh, so this is like a women fight here.
Well, that's what they're trying to paint it as. But Sarah has every right to be upset. I mean, they've been jerking her around this entire story.
The last 2 stories she's getting jerked.
Yeah. And the angel of the Lord found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur.
And he said, Hagar, Sarah's maid, whence camest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress, Sarah. So Sarah got tough and kicked her butt out.
Yeah. Where did this angel come from?
I don't know. I guess he was just hanging around the fountain, right?
Yeah, but it's a messenger of the Lord. So where is this? Who the Lord was talking to? Is this the Lord's boyfriend coming down now?
I don't know. He didn't say the boyfriend was an angel.
Didn't say
Are
it was
angels
anything.
gods?
I don't know. Kind of
Because that
odd.
could explain a whole lot. If angels are gods themselves, because, I guess.
And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. So go back to slavery.
Yeah, didn't they used to do this down south? I mean, if you catch a slave, they return them.
Yeah,
Yeah. So now we know where that came from.
right. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. So the mistress has been blessed. One of the
One of the
many
many
different
meanings. Yeah.
definitions of the word blessed. But it appears though that this time it was by the angel, and not by the Lord. So blessed doesn't necessarily mean a good thing though. It sounds does this not sound like a rape situation? Like she doesn't seem to want to be there. She doesn't seem to want to bear these kids.
Well, she didn't ask for these kids.
Right.
Sarah wanted it. And then as soon as she gets pregnant, then Sarah gets ticked
I'm
off
not-
and kicked her out.
I'm not convinced Sarah wanted it though. I think Abram wanted it. Sarah conceded and said, "You know what? Whatever. I can't bear you any kids." And then didn't it take her 10 years? To say, "All right."
Yeah. You're right.
So this seems to be Abram's little plan.
Yeah, and this poor Egyptian girl doesn't have any say so in it at all.
Now was she taken from Pharaoh? Is that where she came about?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, where else could she have come from? Either that, or maybe he stole her out of that war.
Oh yeah, there's two places.
doesn't
So
really
she just never had a good life.
No, and she's a slave, and then she gets kicked out. How do you get kicked out of slavery? Anyway, she gets kicked out, and the angel says, No, go back to your slavery thing.
That's probably the best kicking out though ever. That's a situation where you want to get kicked out. It's like getting kicked out of jail.
Yeah. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shall bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord hath heard thy affliction.
So she's already pregnant. She got screwed yet again.
And she doesn't even get to name her own kids.
Yeah.
The angel's going to give them a name whether you like it or not.
Yeah. And he will be a wild man. His hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. And she called the name of the Lord that spake unto her, Thou God seest me. For she said, Have I also here looked after him that seeth me?
Wherefore the well was called Beer-hera Roi. Behold, it is between Kadesh and Beer. And Hagar bare Abram a son, and Abram called his son's name, which Hagar bare, Ishmael. And Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bare Ishmael to Abram.
I guess he won't be playing catch with his son.
86. That's only 86, right? That's 86. And that is the end of chapter 16. And chapter 17 starts, And when Abram was 90 years old and 9, the Lord appeared to Abram. Here, the Lord's appearing again.
Yeah.
And said unto him, I am the Almighty God. Walk before me and be thou perfect. So what? Abram didn't know who he was?
I guess. I don't know. Like,
Well, maybe he
speaking
didn't.
to him and,
Yeah.
doing all these transactions with him. And I will make my covenant between me and thee, and will multiply thee exceedingly.
He just did that. Didn't he just do that?
No, well, I don't. He made a covenant, but it wasn't to Abram's liking.
I don't think Abram didn't have much choice in the matter.
Right. So now maybe he's changing his mind. Maybe he said, oh, well, now you can see your kids. Or maybe he's upset that Abram found another way to get kids that he can actually see. That wouldn't be in a distant land. So now he's trying to take credit for it.
And Abram fell on his face. And God talked with him, saying, As for me, behold, my covenant is with thee, and thou shalt be a father of many nations. Neither shalt thou name any more be called Abram, but thy name shall be Abraham, for a father of many nations have I made thee.
So now he needs a new name because... why does he need a new name? Why can't Abram be the leader of many nations? Like no reason is given behind why Abraham is better than Abram. It's just longer.
Maybe because God got rid of Ham.
Maybe.
So he stuck Ham's name on the back of Abram.
Maybe.
And so now it's Abraham.
Yeah. And I will make thee exceedingly fruitful, and I will make nations of thee, and kings shall come out of thee. And I will establish my covenant between me and thee, and thy seed after thee, and their generations, for an everlasting covenant, to be a God unto thee.
This is like normal behavior for a drug addict. When they haven't had their drugs for a while, they start saying crazy stuff. I'll give you anything. What do you want? Stars? You name it. Look, just cook this thing up. You know.
What was the last altar? What was the last? Was that 2 chapters ago?
Yeah. And there was more than like 3 chapters ago.
In a while, so God's getting anxious.
He's off his med.
And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee the land wherein thou art a stranger, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. Is he giving up his godliness with Abraham?
I don't know, but a minute ago he was like all the land from the Euphrates or something, and Egypt. And,
yeah, God's repeating himself as always.
But I think he's changing it now. Now he's saying he's just giving them the land of Canaan, where Ham used to be. He doesn't have this contract concept down pat yet. And God said unto Abram, Thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations.
So he's telling them to accept it, basically.
Yeah. Take it or leave. Not even take it or leave it. Take it or die or something. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you, and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. Oh, now he's putting on demands. He's talking about chopping off body parts.
Yeah, and for what? I hate the fact that there's no explanation given. We have to extend Abram's name to Abraham. You know, he's supposed to give him this great land, and he's giving him, you know, repeatedly giving him land which he has to fight on. And now again, he's going to drop him in the center of a strange land and say, oh, well, you're now the ruler of these people, and I'm their ruler.
Yeah, but look, it's getting worse. Line 11. And ye shall circumcise the flesh of your foreskin. Ouch! And it shall be a token of the covenant betwixt me and you.
Whatever happened to pens or just pricking your finger with blood?
Maybe a tattoo. What did he do to the other guy, Cain? He just put like a mark on his head or something?
Yeah, so that you wouldn't go near him. But I don't. Well, he just said he had a mark on. Did it say on his head?
I didn't say on his head, but
yeah,
that sounds like a whole lot easier than this.
Yeah.
And he that is 8 days old shall be circumcised among you, and every man child in your generations, he that is born in the house or bought with money of any stranger, which is not of thy seed.
So everybody's got to be circumcised.
And you notice that God doesn't have a problem with buying people.
No, he doesn't. And also, I wonder if this is going to go on his new altar.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he doesn't even talk about that here. He that is born in thy house, And he that is bought with thy money must needs be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh for everlasting covenant.
So this is when contracts have boundaries. Not with God.
No.
This is an everlasting one.
Yeah, that brings us to the end of another Bible session. And what did we learn today? Well, I've learned something very important. If you get kicked off your master's plantation, don't talk to angels. This is Ray signing off.
And this is Ayanna with Black Atheists of America. Please feel free to subscribe. Thank you for listening.